Yes guys, what's going on? Welcome to AdamMcKola TV. This is the PL Weekly, back again for game week 2. And this is the game week where Manchester United and Manchester City enter the play for the first time this season. Obviously those teams were the ones that were involved in European football right until the end. And not only will the boys from Manchester be making their first games of the season in the Premier League, but also Chelsea against Liverpool, Lampard against Klopp. Huge game there as well, with all the pressure that we'll have on Chelsea after the big money they've spent this summer and on Frank Lampard. They'll be expecting to get a good result against Liverpool, and Liverpool will be going to Stamford Bridge confident, especially after wrapping up that Thiago signing this week. Not only that, Carlo Ancelotti's Everton side are at home against West Brom. Can they make it 2 wins out of 2? And are they the real deal under Carlo Ancelotti after an impressive performance against Spurs? And talking about Spurs, first things first, we'll be talking about Gareth Bale and Sergio Reguilon swooping in from the Bernabeu to White Hart Lane and Jose Mourinho's side, and what that could mean for them. Should we be expecting a title challenge out of this Spurs side, or a top 4 challenge? Whereabouts does this team lie now they've added Gareth Bale and Sergio Reguilon to that team? So we'll be looking at all of that. We'll get an update on the fantasy team and the fantasy league at the end of the video as well, so make sure you're keeping it locked for that. But before we get stuck in, subscribe, like, comment, share, all that good stuff. And of course, anything that we discussed today, get your predictions in those comments below. First things first, Spurs are getting Gareth Bale. Now, as I speak, it hasn't been made official yet, but we've seen Gareth Bale arriving at their training ground, Sergio Reguilon arriving at their training ground. It is pretty much a done deal. It's going to be done. So Gareth Bale, Reguilon, they are Spurs players. Now, you know, the circumstances around those deals, I think you can question, and rightly so. You know, should a club like Spurs really be taking a deal like Sergio Reguilon, where if you develop this player in a year or two, Real Madrid can just swoop in and take him back? That was why I didn't want Manchester United to do it, because it was kind of a lose-lose situation. You either get a player, he doesn't do well, he's stuck at your club, he hasn't done well, or you develop him, he becomes one of the best, and then he's off to Real Madrid again in a year or two. It's a real strange one. It's like a glorified loan deal, isn't it? And talking about loan deals, Gareth Bale's is a loan deal, a big money loan deal, £300,000 a week. Spurs will be paying 50% of his big wage packet from Real Madrid, and he'll be coming in with big expectations. But also, he's a player that hasn't played much football in the last 2 years, 18 months. He hasn't been playing much for Real Madrid. Most of his appearances would have been for Wales, where he's still maintaining a regular spot in their squads. Of course he will, he's their main man, but he hasn't been playing for Real Madrid. And whether you think that's right or wrong, I think, you know, Real Madrid fans probably should have appreciated some of the things that he had done for the club. I mean, when you look at his Champions League final goal and you look at some of the things that he did there, he played a massive part in their success. And you have to take your hat off for him for what he did at the club at that time. He earned that big salary. I'm not sure anyone's worth £600,000 a week in football, but he earned that salary at Real Madrid. And now they've got him on a big salary. Zidane doesn't like him. Nobody seems to like him at the club. And he's saying, well, I'm not going to be sold on the cheap. I'm not going to take a contract. And he's well within his rights to do that. But along that period of time, 12 months, 18 months, whatever it's been, he's not been playing football at the top level. He's had a gap year almost. He hasn't been playing. He's been on the golf course more than the football pitch. And, you know, combine that with injuries he's suffered during his career. Is this the deal that everyone is making it out to be? It still remains to be seen. It can go one of two ways. This will either be an absolutely fantastic deal for a loan for a year, where you're just paying his wages. It'd be a great deal if he turns around into that Gareth Bale that we know he can be. But then if he doesn't, and he's injured, or he's just sat on your bench, or he's not motivated, or he's, you know, then you've got a big, you know, a big star on a big salary, probably the biggest paid player at Spurs, and it, you know, that could cause issues within the dressing room. We've already seen how things can play out under Jose Mourinho. So I'm very interested in this this signing and where it takes them. Because when you look on paper, Son, Kane, Bale, one of the best front threes in the Premier League. But games aren't won on paper, as we've seen all the time when we've made certain signings. And this Gareth Bale one, I didn't want United to be anywhere near it because it stank of Alexis Sanchez, it stank of Falcao. But Spurs have gone for it. I don't blame him. He's obviously a former player there as well. But they've gone for it. And they've got one of his former teams this weekend, Southampton, away from home. Southampton got off to a surprising start. I thought they would have beat Crystal Palace. They didn't beat Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace beat them 1-0. And they'll be looking for their first 3 points of the season. And I'm sure they'd fancy it at home against Spurs. But Spurs will be going there looking to bounce back as well from that defeat against Everton. So this is a very, very intriguing game. And with all the furore around Spurs, around Bale, around Reguilon, I wouldn't be surprised if Southampton did pull off a result. But in terms of Bale, Reguilon, Spurs and their hopes for this season, I don't think Jose Mourinho has got it in him to have a title challenge anymore. I don't think he has. I think he's finished in that regard as a manager. But, I was disregarding Spurs as a top 4 side before they got Bale. And now with Bale and Reguilon, if he stays fit, you never know. They'll be right up there with a shout if they can provide, if they get the ball to that front three, that is. Harry Kane looks starved of service at times, as we've seen can happen under Jose. So, I don't think they've quite got enough for a title challenge, but definitely enough on paper to be there or thereabouts for top 4. Whether they will or not remains to be seen. But this narrative that's playing out at Spurs could make for a great story when Jose finally blows up. Or is that just us and Arsenal fans wishing that? Moving on from that to Everton. And are they the real deal under Carlo Ancelotti? We saw a very good performance from them against Spurs. Under Jose Mourinho at White Hart Lane. Great performance for the first game of the season. But it's also hard to tell because obviously teams are still within their pre-season modes. They haven't really got many games under their belts. It's very difficult to see. But for me, under Carlo Ancelotti, I think Everton are the real deal. Now, I think they'll finish top 6. Well, I thought... I had a feeling they would finish top 6 above Spurs before Spurs got Bale. And now it's a little bit more even, but I definitely think Everton will be dark horses under Carlo Ancelotti, and they'll definitely play a big part in the season, whether it's taking points off, the teams in the top 4, the top 3, the top 2, and deciding title. I don't know. Everton are going to play a real big part because with Carlo Ancelotti, they've got one of the best managers in the league. They've had shrewd investment with Alan. I thought he had a great performance against Spurs. James Rodriguez, I think he'd kind of picked the levels up in training and on the pitch as well. Richarlison looks like he's been given a new lease of life by some of the players that have come around him. And they do look the part. But again, when it's Everton, sometimes you just kind of feel like, hey, it's Everton. They're going to do what Everton do and always flatter to deceive. And these are the kind of games where you could see them dropping points in the past. West Brom at home. And I think we'll find out a lot about Everton, although it is quite early. If they comfortably slap West Brom, having got a result against one of those teams that you consider a top 6 side in Spurs, then you'd think, that's a very good start to the season. They'd start feeling confident about their prospects. I think they will win against West Brom. I do. I think they'll beat West Brom. West Brom had a difficult time out last time against Leicester. And I can imagine it being the same again against Everton. The 2 Manchester clubs return to football this weekend as well. Manchester United, Crystal Palace, Wolves, Manchester City. Now, if you want to see my preview on Man United and Crystal Palace, there's 2 of them, kind of. There's one with me and Steve, a predictor preview, and there's the full preview with myself. You can go and check those out right now. But let's look at Wolves, Manchester City, because that's an interesting game, isn't it? Manchester City haven't had a great time of it against Wolves in recent times, and they'll be going there looking to get a win, start their season off with a bang. What you don't want to happen if you're Man United or Manchester City this weekend is you don't get that result. Arsenal won their last game out, Chelsea won their last game out, Liverpool won their last game out, and you're going out of this weekend 5 points behind all those guys. Even with a game in hand, that's not where you really want to be, especially when you look at the way some of these tables have been over the last couple of years. Teams at the top and rarely drop points. So you can't be dropping points early on. You need to be getting bang at it now. Manchester City haven't done all of their business yet. They've brought in a few signings. The loss of David Silva. I mean, when they lost Company, it was a clear impact, not only in terms of having a centre-back, but having that leadership. David Silva, I don't think is a a vocal leader or anything that flies into tackles, but he is a leader for them. And he will be missed in that dressing room, and it will be interesting to see how they recover from that. They've still got fantastic players, and they're still one of those sides that will be bang at it this season, and you'd expect them to be up there challenging for the title. I've got them down there to win the title, but there's still question marks about this City side, and Pep Guardiola's going to want them again to get off to a good start, because you can't be having drop points so early in the season, letting these teams pull away from you, because then the pressure just starts building. And with the way these campaigns are going to go, with the games coming thick and fast, it's a very, very dangerous predicament to be in if you start dropping points this week. Wolves, I think they could get a result, to be fair to you. I think they possibly could. It's coming early doors in the season for Manchester City. Talk Aguero could be out of this game, or I think he is ruled out of this game. It could be a big opportunity for Wolves. I seen their shirt this week looking like Portugal. I found that interesting considering how many Portuguese stars they have. But Nuno Espirito Santos signed his new contract. I mean, they're settled there at Wolves. I know there's talk about Jota leaving potentially, but they're looking very, very settled. And that's one thing they are. And if you're not going there ready, fit, having a good pre-season and all that good stuff, which you never know, City might not have had, they could be on the receiving end of a bad result. So I'm looking at that one with there's some big fixtures this weekend, big fixtures, and we haven't even probably discussed the biggest as a neutral yet, but Southampton Tottenham, I think that's a big game. Wolves City, obviously from our perspective as United fans, United Palace is obviously always going to be a big game for us, even if it's not on paper. And Chelsea Liverpool, another big game. We've all seen that video that went viral of Klopp and Lampard on the sideline having a little head-to-head when Liverpool beat him in the league towards the end of the season. And this is a big test for Lampard. They brought in a lot of players. Liverpool just on the back of bringing in Thiago, and it looked like Liverpool weren't going to have strengthened much, having just won the league, and they've gone out and done some tidy business. They missed out on Timo Werner. It looked like they could possibly miss out on Thiago, although I've always felt it was destined to happen, and they've managed to get Thiago in what is possibly the bargain of the season, the bargain of the summer at 25-30 million euros, is it? I think it's an absolute fantastic signing. Now, this game probably comes a little bit too early for him, although Thiago has been involved on international duty. Maybe he is match fit, I'm not sure, but this game, regardless of the Thiago thing, is got a lot of headlines. Chelsea at home, they've won their first game. If they can get off to a good start in this game, get a win, then 6 points from the first 6, 3 points clear of Liverpool, they'd be feeling really good about themselves, wouldn't they? And when you bring in the likes of Werner, Havertz, and the players that they have done, the pressure's going to build on Lampard. Now, these are the kind of games where he's got to prove it. I've always had my doubts about Lampard. I had my doubts about him when he was at Derby, so it's not just because I don't like Chelsea, do you know what I mean? But I've had my doubts about him, and these are the kind of games where the pressure counts now. You've got no excuses if you lose these games, because you've brought the players, especially at home. You've brought the players now, so your owner's going to be expecting you to get the results. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea did get a result this weekend. Liverpool didn't look great against Leeds. That's not to say I think Chelsea. I thought Chelsea looked poor against Brighton as well. But some of these players' first home games, I know there's no fans there. Liverpool getting off to a slow start in the league. Maybe this is the one for Chelsea. It's just come at the right time, and if they can get a result, it'd probably be great for the Premier League as well. You've briefly heard some of my predictions there, but let's run through the full fixture list for this weekend. We got Everton West Brom. I'm going for an Everton win. We got Leeds Fulham. I'm going for a Leeds win. We got United Crystal Palace. I'm going for another home win. You won't be surprised to hear there. Arsenal West Ham, another home win there. It was all the aways last week, wasn't it? I was saying all the aways. The only one I got wrong was Southampton away to Palace, and Southampton Tottenham. I've got Southampton to win. Newcastle Brighton, I got Newcastle to win. Chelsea Liverpool, I got Chelsea to win. Leicester Burnley, I have got Leicester to win. Aston Villa Sheffield United, now Sheffield haven't looked great, but I think that one might be a draw. And Wolves Man City, I've got Wolves to win. So at the moment I've got 9 home wins. That's probably not right, but there's an acca in there somewhere as well. So that is the fixtures for this weekend. Fantasy Premier League, on the other hand, I've had a disastrous week this week. I'm like 149th in the league. 3 of my players didn't play because I forgot to change them out. But my team is still the same. Patricio, who had a clean sheet, which was good for me in the last game. Gomez, Walker Peters, who thankfully had that red card overturned. Harry Maguire, Rashford, Aubameyang, who got a goal. Jorginho, who got a goal. Son, who didn't get a goal. Kane, Calvert-Lewin, who did get a goal for us, and Anthony Martial, who will hopefully be scoring. That is my team for this fancy Premier League. Now, Team United FC is top at the moment on 99 points, while I'm 149th on 41 points. 58 points behind already, but this is where the season truly starts for me, because we got Rashford, Martial and Maguire in my team now. Watch none of them even start. Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in to the PL Weekly. Remember, on Mondays we'll have the Premier League Gazette with all the reaction to everything that we have discussed today. And of course, you've got the preview for the United game if you want to check that out. The predictor preview for the United game with me and Steve. If you want to check that out, you'll have post-match reaction to the United game as well. So loads coming up for you. Keep it locked. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I've been AdamMcKola. I'm out of here.